about her complex relationship with her late father, a classic Electra complex in Clemenceau's opinion. They'd talked about guilt and transference, and how, as a little girl, Inez had felt responsible for the terrible, tragic accident that occurred at her family's Bastide in the summer of 1928. But still the dreams kept coming. "Miss Challant, forgive me," he said, "but I know there's something more. Please, try again. Keep your eyes closed. You hear your father's guard dogs and the boy's screams. But what else?" "Oiseau." The word tumbled out of her mouth before Inez even knew she had thought it. "Birds. I hear birds." Clemenceau inhaled sharply, unable to hide his excitement. This was new. Not what he'd expected exactly, but still new. Progress. "Maman's birds. They're in the aviary squawking and panicking," Inez continued, wringing her hands together, visibly distressed. "They're beating their wings frantically against the bars of the cage, trying to escape. They need... Oh, God! Someone needs to let them out!" She sat up suddenly, her eyes wide. "You need to let them out, Inez," said the doctor. "Is that it? Is that what you're feeling? That you should have released your mother's birds?" Inez nodded, sobbing. Things, terrible, long-buried things that she couldn't name, were rising up inside her. Things for which there were no words. Her dream wasn't about the boy. It was about the birds. It had always been about the birds. I should have set them free. Part 1. Summer. Chapter 1. Beaulieu-sur-Mer, France, June 1928. "So," Clotilde Challant carefully folded her napkin and surveyed her children's happy faces around the breakfast table. "What are everybody's plans for the day?" It was the Challants' first morning at Beaulieu, the luxurious seaside home that they decamped to en masse every summer, leaving the hubbub of Paris behind. The Bastide, originally a fortified medieval dwelling built of thick stone, had been added to and softened over the years. Fairy-tale turrets now punctuated the house's four corners, and pale blue wooden shutters framed its pretty windows, with bougainvillea running riot over much of the facade. The house perched atop a high hill, with sloping formal gardens cascading down around it like water from a spring. Lavender, rose, and kitchen gardens all had their own exquisitely delineated spaces, and there were lawns and fountains and intricately laid gravel paths weaving among the grounds, always raked to perfection. True to its fortress roots, however, the whole property was encircled by forbiddingly high walls of brick and stone, protecting those lucky enough to live within from whatever dangers might lurk without. Years ago, a family friend had likened the Challants to a flock of migrating birds, glamorous and exotic, but constantly on the move between their Paris mansion on Place Dauphine, their Bastide at Beaulieu in the summers, and their vast chalet in Megève every Christmas. The trope had stuck, not least because Clotilde Challant herself happened to be an avid collector of exotic birds, with an aviary at Beaulieu to rival that at any of the local zoos. "I'm going down to the farm first thing." Renée, 15 years old and the Challants' second daughter, practically bubbled with excitement. Pretty in a tomboyish sort of way, with short, dark hair and a smattering of freckles across her nose and cheeks, Renée was Clotilde's uncomplicated child. Independent, cheerful, and perfectly satisfied as long as she could spend most of her time outdoors, ideally around animals. "Sandrine told me last night that the Martin spaniel bitch has had puppies, and they've bought a whole flock of new geese that Monsieur Martin needs help with."